Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. I am Jessica Ba, the conscious star, the keen queen, and this is my conscious living community. Almost forgot the name of it. This is my conscious living community where I promote mental health and intellectual awareness. And today we are talking about how to stop procrastinating and start achieving your goals. This is the third video out of a 4-part video series, and today we're going to be discussing the second step in a 3-part process on how to start achieving your goals and stop procrastinating. The first step that we identified in the previous video was identifying your undesirable loops. These loops are going to be the ones that cause you to feel frustration, guilt, shame, apathy, fear, doubt, worry, or even anger when it comes to pursuing your goals. And these are all feelings, low vibrating energies that you want to find a way to get out of your system, get out of your mind, so that you can take on the qualities that will help you to achieve your goals. So stopping those loops, let's jump right into it. Stopping the loops is going to be what you do after you've identified that they're running through your head. You sit down to start your goal, or you are out, during your work day and you're working towards your goal mentally, whatever it is that you're doing, focusing on your diet, or just focusing on being a better person, and you start hearing these loops, you're identifying them. Boom. So now how do you stop them from running through your mind? Basically, what you want to do is find a way to bypass those loops that have been running for some of us 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40, who knows how many years they've been running in your mind without you being aware. You have to find a way to bypass them so that you can get new information into your mind, the new conscious self that you're creating, that new personality. You want to get those new loops in there by stopping the current loops. The best way to do that is, that I found personally, that I use, is to develop pattern interrupts. And what pattern interrupts do is they kind of, the same way you would discipline a little child by maybe calling their name out, or clapping your hands together, snapping your finger, or even popping the child to get their attention, to stop them from pursuing whatever behavior they were about to pursue, which was undesirable to you. You want to kind of find the same way to mentally discipline your brain, which is what a pattern interrupt does. Now, some people use pattern interrupts by putting a rubber band around their wrist and wearing a rubber band, or wearing a hair tie around their wrist. And every time they recognize an undesirable behavior, whether it's something they say, a thought that they have, an action that they're about to take, they'll pop that rubber band or that hair tie. And it gives them a physical, kind of zap to remind them of what their intention was at the beginning of the day. And you can either do that, or you can do a mental kind of process where, every time you hear yourself having a but statement, like you have an idea to do something, and then your mind says, but what if it doesn't work out? Or, but, what if you don't like the way this healthy food tastes and you end up failing the diet anywhere, doing terribly on the diet? Why start now? When you start hearing that but, you can mentally check that loop off, stop that loop from running, and introduce, a conscious, mentally you can turn that loop off if you don't want to do a physical sort of pattern interrupt by popping your wrist or popping your hand. And the whole premise, or the whole idea behind having a pattern interrupt, is that you are taking your awareness and bringing it back into the conscious moment, back into your conscious moment where you decided that you were going to do something, or put on new behaviors, or adopt a new, pattern of activity or thought in order to accomplish your goal. You're taking your brain out of that old monkey mind chatter and making it be present again, so that it's cooperating with what you decided that you want to do. So there are other ways that you can take your brain out of that unconscious loop and bring it into the present moment to stop that pattern. And I've written them down here, so I'm going to be referring to my notes as always. You can take a moment to just focus on your breathing. That's a good way to bring yourself back into the conscious moment. Sometimes we get so anxious when we start taking the first step towards our goal. We start having all of those feelings of, I'm not good enough, I'm not lucky, I'm not experienced enough, it's not going to work out, it never does. Just take a moment to breathe in and breathe out, and remember why you're doing what you're doing. That just taking that moment, even if it's just a minute, 2 minutes, I recommend doing at least 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting there and reminding yourself that everything is fine. You're just taking the first steps. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You prepared yourself for this moment, and you're going to do it regardless of what your monkey mind is trying to tell you to do. That's a good way to stop that pattern and get present in the moment so that you can kind of reset and get back on that page that you intended to be on, that day to take the first steps or the next step towards your goal. The other thing that you can do is repeat a mantra or a motto for the day. I wrote down just a couple of examples in case you don't know what a mantra is, or you're not used to using mottos or affirmations for your day. It's basically just like a very short phrase or sentence, or maybe a couple of words, or even one word that you repeat that it makes you feel empowered, that makes you feel, motivated, that makes you remember, why you're doing what you're doing, and why you are destined to succeed. It can be something like, I am successful, I am focused, I've got this. Sit down and shut up and do what you said you're going to do. It could be anything, any affirmation. That, not really, I just kind of threw that one out there. I didn't write it down. But it could be any affirmation, anything that you choose that will help you to refocus and to just kind of reset your switches so that you're not running on that old monkey mind chatter. You're, focused and present in the moment and forcing your mind to think along the same, page that you need to be on to accomplish your goal. You can also say things like, I am a hard worker, I am fearless, I am well supported, I am strong enough, I am smart enough, I am good enough, this is going to work, I am already successful, and I'm going to be even more successful. Anything like that, any sort of saying or phrase that you want to adopt, you can look them up on Google, find something that resonates with you, and use that to help you to stop that loop when it starts, okay? You can also pray. Praying is a very good way to get yourself back into the moment. If you are, religious and if you, are a spiritual individual that way, which, okay, if you are, if you're not, hey, if you are, then praying is a very good way to definitely kind of sound yourself back down and remember that you are not doing this alone. You have the backing of the entire cosmos. This entire world, this entire universe and system was built to support you as a human being. So you can take a few moments to pray and just remember who the F you are, and then bust out whatever you got to bust out to achieve your goal for that day. Another thing you can do is sit down and visualize for a moment. Just sit down and visualize yourself in the future, thanking your current self for taking the steps that you're about to take. And think about how good you're going to feel when you've succeeded the goal. And when you're visualizing, it's very important. If you've never visualized before, it's very important when you visualize to not think about anything you don't want. So what you don't want to do when you visualize is sit down and say, okay, my future self is going to definitely thank me for taking this first step today. If everything works out, if I don't mess it up again, if this, works, or if this doesn't happen. You don't allow yourself to think about anything that you don't want when you visualize, because that is a very dangerous way to visualize. If you've never visualized before and you're not comfortable with doing it, or you're not able to not think about what you don't want, which does take practice, because I know that until I was taught to not, until I got the information and then started teaching myself to not think about things that I don't want, it was kind of difficult to do. And it takes a lot of conscious effort and conscious concentration. But when you visualize, only think about what you want. Use your imagination to think about your fairy tale ending of your success story, and stay in that visualization. And then use that as a way to stop that pattern, that undesirable, unconscious pattern that's running, and to refocus, reset yourself to get into the present moment and do what you have to do to take that step toward the goal. And depending on where your life is now, trust me, that's going to be enough motivation to make you be like, okay, let me go ahead and start, the first step of what I said I was going to do today, because I do not want my life to keep being the way it is. Even though I'm grateful for what I have, I don't want to be on my deathbed and have not moved from this point right now where I am, especially when I know that there's so much more life and living that I can do. So those are the pattern interrupts that pattern interrupts that I wanted to introduce you guys to help you stop those undesirable unconscious loops from running in your brain so that you can work to achieve your goals and stop procrastinating. So if you have not watched the first 2 videos in this series, I would recommend that you go back and watch those so that all of everything that I just said makes sense to you if it didn't. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below letting me know if you have any questions or any part of this video or previous videos on this topic that you want me to expand on or answer, specific questions that I may not have answered already. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you like the video. If you don't like the video, as I always say, let me know, give it a thumbs down, and I will definitely appreciate any and all feedback. I do want to take a very sincere moment to say thank you to my 1,607 subscribers. As of last night, that is the newest number. I am so grateful to you all for your support, for clicking that red subscribe button, and for rocking with me in promoting mental health and intellectual awareness to help people to break free from their mental chains and live the most happy and successful and free life that they can truly live according to the ability that we were all given at birth. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time and you would like to subscribe, you can click the red subscribe button below this video and join the living community. That is all for today's video. I will see you guys next time with step 3 in the 3-step process on how to stop procrastinating, and that is going to be reprogramming your loops. More light, life, abundance, and peace to you all. Till next time. Later.